Oh, hi there. Thank you for joining me. Being in these flesh suits we call bodies requires us to deal with a very animalistic nature. We can't ignore the fact that we have to consume energy, that we have to hydrate, we have to rest, sleep, we have to clean ourselves, we have to move. So to properly thrive in these meat vehicles, we have to know and respect the animal side that each of us can't escape. And this is quite obvious. Yes, we are all animals, but we are not only animals. We have a mortality that expresses itself in these very basic physical needs. And yet, there is an immortal part of us that transcends the animalistic. We are spirit incarnate into matter. So we have to respect both sides of us and integrate them. But the problem is most humans treat themselves purely as animals, and therefore like beasts. You don't have to treat yourself like a beast. But carnal desire can be very tempting. Carnal desire is pleasure-seeking behavior that attracts us to disconnect from the infinite, immortal, eternal part of ourselves in favor of emphasizing what the material realm can give us. We can become gluttons for food, for sexual stimulation. We can overemphasize drink and drug. We can treat ourselves like idiots who just need to get their next fill of pleasure. But you know what? Pleasure-seeking behavior has a way of creating much more pain than one intends to experience. When we are slaves to carnal desire, we are telling the universe that we would rather immerse ourselves in the animal side of us rather than the divine side. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out the world at large and its inhabitants treats pleasure-seeking and fulfillment of fleshly passion as the bee's knees of experience, but it isn't. When we are slaves to our carnal desire, we inevitably produce a lot of shame within our psyches. And this can become a self-perpetuating loop of destruction and avoidance. What are we avoiding when we addict ourselves to temporary stimulation? Well, we are avoiding what so desperately calls to be seen. Let us allow our divinity to shine forth and inspire us to not be as beasts, but be as gods and goddesses. I know. Well, the world is so unsettling, and it makes me anxious, and maybe my life feels a bit pathetic or out of sorts, or I get caught up in the drudgery of the day to day. So why shouldn't I allow myself this reward? Maybe I am addicted to this behavior or that substance. Maybe I do hurt myself in such pursuits, but you know what? At least it gives me some temporary relief. I get why it's alluring to just dive into the habits that we think give us a sense of fulfillment. But if we're all honest with ourselves, and really honest and vulnerable with ourselves, we'll all know that the true fulfillment can only be achieved when we are not slaves to the mortal, to the finite, to the fleeting. Nothing is perfect here, and because of it, we will never experience true perfection in this world, and that's okay. But that does not mean we should give up the pursuit to refine our consciousness and to elevate the values that we would like to see spread throughout the universe. How we conduct ourselves is a clear signal to creation what we align with, not just for ourselves, but for all. To say in another way, treat this experience how you would like to see others treat this experience. It's easy to make excuses for our own behavior. Well, I feel this way, or I feel that way, or this happened to me. But when we can take a bird's eye view of our lives and of our consciousness, almost as if we're looking at somebody else, we can then analyze this incarnation that is you, that is I. We can ask ourselves, am I acting in a way that I truly respect? How do we know we don't truly respect our performance in this crazy maze we call life? Well, we're going to feel it. The feeling is the compass. We have an intuition, we have a conscience. You know this. It's nothing new. We have true instinct, not just animal instinct, but divine instinct. And if we tune into this instinct, we will always know if what we're doing is aligning with our greatest values or not. This is hard. This is not the utopia that we might think we deserve. That's very clear by now. But that doesn't mean we should avoid the void. We all can feel empty. We all have no idea what's going on much of the time, including myself. You know, as much clarity as I know I have about myself in this situation, I'm equally as confused. I mean, that's just a part of being here. Sometimes I have no clue. No freaking clue what this is or what my role in it is. And you know what? That's okay. So there is this uncertainty that we all feel deep down. Maybe not consciously, but most of us would be liars if we say, I don't feel that way. How are we going to fill this void? How are we going to deal with the uncertainty of existence? Well, I know what's not going to purify this sense of dread. Giving in to fleshly temptation won't. Allowing ourselves to become addicts won't. Throwing away discipline and the self-respect we deserve as divine beings won't. So, we can't run, we can't hide. The more we avoid ourselves, the more intense of a confrontation we eventually require in order to get back to the center. So although escapism can attract us and can distract us temporarily, we always have to deal with the repercussions of what we do, and of course of what we say, of how we think. Everything we do in each moment, every action we perform, every word we speak, every thought we have, etc., etc., everything affects the trajectory of our soul. Everything affects the trajectory of our soul. This is hidden from us in the hubbub of modern life. So if we think the world is going to instruct us of this simple but powerful truth, we are mistaken. We ourselves have to be in charge of this process. Pornography is something you probably should stop if you haven't. Masturbating all the time or trying to find sexual partners here, there, everywhere, probably should stop if these have been your cups of tea. If you find yourself not able to use your body in a very disciplined manner, whatever that means for you, then maybe taking care of that should be at the top of your list of priorities. Alcohol is nasty business, absolutely. Junk food is nasty business, and overeating in general is nasty business. Addiction to various behaviors can surface before we know what's happening when we don't pay attention. Look at the masses at large. People are asleep at the wheel. People are just trying to get through the day. But you, living soul, don't have to be asleep at the wheel. To be awakened, to be aware, to live consciously, is to not let anything slip in our lives or in our consciousness. And this does not take a wham bam thank you ma'am moment of awakening. Just because we receive a spiritual download once does not mean we're going to eternally follow our hearts. We have to consistently awaken ourselves. I call it infinite awakening, here, now, and beyond this experience. We're always going to have to take care of the quality of our consciousness and form it into the state that we find most acceptable for our growth. Treat yourself with respect. Take a good look in the mirror. And you know what? If you've been avoiding anything that you know you probably should not, then why don't you become an alchemist? It requires taking responsibility. And once we take responsibility, we then have to act. Awakening is not just about believing or deluding ourselves that all is perfect, all is divine. Yes, all is perfect, all is divine. But, paradoxically, if we maintain the stagnancy that this perspective can develop into, then what journey are we taking? You're never accomplished as much as you could be. Neither am I. I have a long ways to go. Long ways to go. I'm a very flawed man. So, we all have flaws and we all get caught up. But infinite awakening applied means we are going to consistently look in the mirror, look at our quality of being and behavior, so we can further refine ourselves. And when we refine ourselves, we refine the universe. How we use our experience informs every ounce of divinity. What it is we would like to see, here, now, everywhere. Thank you for joining me. Keep up the great work.